Today is November 21st, 2018. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Michael Green in Dewey, Oklahoma. So, where were you born?
You'll have to excuse me, my hearing is not.
Where were you born?
I was born in Gorman, Texas.
And when's your birthday?
October the 29th, 1947.
1947. Who is your father?
Orville J. Green.
And your mother?
Ruby New Green.
How do you spell new? How do you spell new?
N-E-W.
N-E-W. Was that her maiden name?
New is her maiden name.
Okay. Did you go through school at Gorman?
Did I?
Yes.
No.
No.
I was born in Gorman, was raised in Rising Star, Texas, and Odessa, Texas.
When did you graduate high school?
And when did I?
Where and when?
Okay, where was Odessa High School? And I graduated in October of '66.
What kind of work did your father do?
What kind of work did he do? He spent the bigger part of his time in the oil fields in Odessa, Texas.
Okay. Who is your favorite teacher?
Who was my favorite teacher? It had to been Ben Nix.
Why was he your favorite?
He encouraged me in elementary school. He encouraged me, to do what I enjoyed doing the most. And that was sitting around and drawing hot rods. But he told me, he said, "You have got a knack for drawing." And he said, "That's probably going to be your biggest accomplishment through life and through school." And he was right.
Yeah.
It was.
What did you do for recreation in high school?
My what?
What did you do for recreation in high school?
What did I do for recreation? I worked on an old '55 Chevrolet and tried to fix it up from nothing. And I did. I fixed it up and got it to run. And that was my biggest accomplishment.
You played sports in high school?
The only sports I played in high school was I played football at Sam Houston Elementary School. And that's the only thing as far as sports that I did.
Was that in Odessa?
That was in Odessa.
Okay. What'd you do after high school?
Well, I kinda had something for the military because I wanted to be one of those who everybody looked up to. And I saw a lot of recruiters, and they just put the want in me for military.
When did you join the Army?
I joined the Army in 3 October 1966. And spent some time in basic training, and I thought that was the greatest thing since bubblegum.
Where'd you go for basic?
I went to it was in El Paso.
Fort Bliss? Fort Bliss?
Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas.
Tell me about basic.
Basic training tried me. They tried to break me down, and I wouldn't let them do it. I had the want out of everything that I had done, and I just wanted to prove everybody, that they were wrong. That Michael Green could do anything that he put his hand on to do.
Now, why'd you join the Army or the Navy, Marines, or Air Force?
Because I felt that the Army recruiter was the most honest with me. And he told me, he said, I'm not going to steer you wrong. He said, but if you want to be proud and proud of yourself, the biggest thing you could do is join the Army.
What's your most vivid memory of basic?
The most vivid? It's when testing time came along after I joined. I couldn't wait to see the end. And I did. I graduated very high, with high honors. Out of basic training, and that just lit the fuse to want. wanted something bad enough, I sought it out. Because I wanted to be somebody that could be proud of every step that I took in the military.
After basic, where did you go?
After basic training, I went to I got my hands dirty at the transportation unit, and can't remember now where I was at, but I remember seeing TBROS and DE, and I wanted to know what that stood for, and I found out. Trains, boats, railroads, and electric diesel electric engines.
Were you at Fort Eustis, Virginia?
Yes, I was.
Okay. What type of training did you have at Fort Eustis?
I went through transportation, and then I got involved with drafting, and they told me, said, we'd like to put you in as a draftsman because we think you'd do a good job, and I did. I did it with extreme honors and everything that a soldier could want.
So in drafting, what were you drawing? What type of drawings did you make?
I was drawing things like equipment and the way things were put together, and it was a job.
And what type of equipment?
Steam and diesel electric engines.
Were these engines for what, the railroad or what?
Yeah, they were for the railroad,
Okay.
but the military's railroad.
Yes, okay. How long did that transportation school last?
That transportation school lasted about 18 weeks.
Then where'd you go?
Then I found a new field that made me want to do it. So I applied for it. I applied for Special Forces School at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I was accepted to the school. And I'll tell you what, I have never been to a harder school in my entire life.
Tell me about that school.
That school made you wanna just dig in with everything you had feet and hands, slinging mud. It was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot of work.
Was that school geared toward Vietnam?
Pardon?
Was that Special Forces school geared toward Vietnam?
Oh yeah. Pretty much you could say that if you went through and graduated through Special Forces school, you was going to go to Vietnam.
When'd you graduate?
If my memory serves me right, I think I graduated from Special Forces school in 1974. And when
Now 74, now you joined the Army in 66.
right,
So, did you go to Special Forces after your transportation school?
yes, I did.
So it'd probably been what, 67, 68?
I think it was about 67.
67, okay. After your Special Forces training, where did you go?
Well, when I graduated and was tabbed Special Forces, I was sent to Vietnam.
How'd you go to Vietnam?
How did I?
Did you fly or go by ship?
No, I was with a unit that we flew.
What unit were you with?
Delta 55 and Fan Ring.
Delta 55. Delta, that's the 5th Special Forces?
Correct. And I couldn't have been more proud of myself because I had accomplished what only a few men could accomplish. And the thing that turned me on to Special Forces was my father. Spent some time in the military. He belonged to the Wolfhound unit at Fort Benning, Georgia, which was the beginning of Special Forces back then. And he told me, he said, "You'll never make it through Special Forces school." He said, "They'll kill you before you make it through there." And I went in with that on my shoulders. And I had to be the one that made someone eat crow, because I did finish Special Forces school. And I couldn't have been more proud of myself about anything I had done other than finish basic training.
You recall the date you landed in Vietnam?
Pardon?
You recall the date you landed in Vietnam?
No, I don't remember.
When you first landed, what was your reaction?
I knew what it was like to be in hell. Both temperature and just the agony of what it was like to be in a completely different world.
And you were based at Phan Rang?
I was based in Phan Rang, yes.
What did you do in Vietnam? What happened?
When I went to Vietnam, my first thing that happened was I knew what it was like to be shot at, and they were trying to kill me.
What does the Special Forces do?
Special Forces did a little bit of everything. But with the unit that I was in, we went from point A to point B, and we did things that men only dreamed of doing.
Such as what?
I was with a group that went into POW camps and recovered prisoners of war that had been caught and placed in just a flat out right prison.
Where were these camps?
They were camped in all different areas of Vietnam.
Was it South Vietnam?
South Vietnam, right. And there was nothing easy about it.
Who were these prisoners? Who were the prisoners?
The prisoners were men just like you and I.
Were they American?
They were Americans. And my job was to go in and do every what it took to get them out of POW camps. I saw men that had been in POW camps for as long as 3 years that didn't even know their names. They had been so tortured and all that you wouldn't think, that anybody could be that badly abused.
What did you do with these prisoners? Where did you take them?
Well, what we did is we took them back to our base camp, and they were placed on aircraft that took them out of Vietnam, period.
Was that at Phan Rang?
That was it. That was some of it was in Phan Rang. Some of it was Da Nang. But the only thing I knew was we got them out of POW camps, and we did what we was trained to do.
Did you go on patrol?
Oh, I went on many patrols.
What do you do on a patrol?
In a patrol you take and you uncover mines, you uncover traps, and just all kinds of things.
What, these booby traps?
Booby traps like punji pits, the ones that had the punji sticks, and tripwires that if you wasn't looking for them and knew what you were looking for, you'd trip one of them in a flash.
How far out would you go on a patrol?
We sometimes would go 2-3 miles.
Was this around Fan Rang?
It was around Fan Ring and the general area.
Okay. When you go on patrol, what weapon did you carry?
We carried 45s and M16s. And if we came across things like AK-47s, we were allowed to keep an AK-47, and we used it and there was different weapons that we carried.
What did you do with the AK-47?
AK-47s, we used them when all other of our weapons failed. Use their own weapons against them.
Have any contact with the local people in Vietnam? Have any contact with the local people in Vietnam?
Yeah, but you wasn't for sure who the enemy was and who the enemy was not.
What would you do when you came to a village? What would you do?
to a village, first thing you did is find the people that you knew you could trust. Like when we went on we had the Vietnamese army, a lot of them worked with us, and they pretty much knew who the real enemies were, who they could and who they could not trust. There's things that went on that I don't even, want to get into. Because I remember so much that went on, and I just wanted to forget about as much about it as I possibly could. It's not something you write home to Mama about. But I sometimes had to lie my way through a letter to my mother so it wouldn't affect her. But my mother did a lot of praying for me, and I had a grandmother who also was a heavy prayer warrior, who didn't do anything but just pray for me.
The first time you came under fire, what was your reaction?
I was scared half to death. But I couldn't just forget my job. I had a job to do, and I did it with the best of my ability.
What do you do in a firefight?
Firefights were it's so hard to say that it even bothers me to talk about it, but I still do. I just had to do what I was trained to do. And a lot of that wasn't, stuff you write home about.
When you're out on patrol, what kind of position would you set up at night?
Well, we were usually with the Army's or the Rock Army in Vietnam, who went out with us, and they pretty much watched over us. And it was our well, let's just say it's just not something that I really want to go into right at the time.
Now on patrol, would you be out overnight?
Oh yeah.
So what kind of, where do you sleep when you were overnight? What'd you do at night?
You tried to sleep with one eye open.
What kind of position did you build? Did you build a defensive position, or what? Did you dig a foxhole? What'd you do?
Well, there wasn't really anything foxholes that you think about. You're just out in an open field, or most generally in an open field. There was no place except a tree or something to hide behind. And there was a lot of those. But you just had to be very, very careful and on your guard 24/7.
Did you go through the rice paddies?
Oh yeah.
What do you do in a rice paddy?
Well, if you came under fire, a lot of times you'd have to lay down in that rice paddy. And I tell you what, it's not an easy thing to do, because there was human waste and all of that you had to up against.
What are the monsoons?
I'm sorry?
The monsoons?
What is monsoon? That's the rainy part of the year.
What do you do in a monsoon?
Try your best to stay dry.
How'd you stay dry?
It wasn't easy. I mean, there really wasn't any way to stay dry. I mean, your boots were soaking wet, your socks were soaking wet, and it was just one of those things where monsoon was like 3 months out of the year. It did nothing but rain. And I mean, we're talking rain. There was was no way to keep dry, and you couldn't crawl up in trees or anything like that. You just had to stay as dry as you possibly could. And it was almost impossible.
What about the tunnels over there?
I didn't have a lot to do with the tunnels, but tunnels, that's a story of its own.
Because you know we had tunnel rats that go down in the tunnels.
Yeah. We had dogs and men who would actually put their lives on the line to go down in those tunnels.
How long were you in Vietnam? How long were you in Vietnam?
I was in Vietnam for 4 years.
4 years. You extended?
68, 69, 70, and 71.
Where were you when Tet 68 broke out?
Where was I at? I believe I was out in rice paddies.
What'd you do during Tet?
That's when you're fighting for your life. And there's no playing games when that is among you.
Were you always based at Phan Rang your 4 years in Vietnam?
I was based out of Phan Rang, but we were all over. I mean, there were some times when we'd go up into the highlands where it got cold. And I mean, you saw snow.
Did you work with the mountain yards? Did you work with the mountain yards?
I worked with the mountain yards, and I was also on a mic force.
What's a mic force?
A mic force is one who worked with the Arvins and the friendly side of Vietnamese. You had to kind of find out who was good and who was bad.
Why did you extend in Vietnam?
Why did I? I didn't extend intentionally, but when they came to pick us up, if they couldn't find us, the area that we were in, then they had to pull out.
This is when they're going to extract you out from a patrol?
Right.
Okay.
But there was a couple of times when I didn't want to be picked up.
Why?
Because I felt deep down inside that I hadn't completed the job that I went over for.
And what was your job?
My job was to get the men out of POW camps.
Now, was your tour 1 year, your first tour?
My first tour was 1 year, and I extended then.
Okay.
And really, you didn't know from day to day what day was.
Were you always with the 5th Special Forces?
Well, we worked with the 5th Special Forces as our backbone, and we worked with other units primarily to just help them out.
What's your best memory of Vietnam?